Buckle up, gearheads, I'm RetroWheelsVault 4, and today we're cruising back to 1949 with the Mercury 8, the car that redefined cool before Elvis even shook a hip. Welcome back to RetroWheelsVault, where horsepower never dies, and we're here because modern cars forgot what muscle means. Let's roll! Here's a fun factoid for you. The 1949 Mercury 8 wasn't just another car rolling off the assembly line. It was the first all-new Mercury design after World War II. That's right, while America was trading in ration books for jukeboxes, Mercury decided it was time for a clean slate. And boy, did they deliver. This was more than a facelift. It was full-on reinvention. Imagine Mercury tossing its old wardrobe of a pure pre-war boxy styles into the donation bin and stepping out in a sharp new suit tailored for the modern era. Sleek pontoon styling, integrated fenders, and a lower, wider stance made the 8 look like it was born to cruise down Main Street with confidence. It marked a turning point, not just for Mercury, but for American car design as a whole. The 49 Mercury became an instant hit with families, hot rodders, and even Hollywood stars. Its fresh look and dependable Flathead power plant made it the Swiss Army knife of cars. Classy enough for Sunday drives, tough enough for customizing, and stylish enough to steal the spotlight. In short, the 49 Mercury was proof that post-war America wasn't just rebuilding, it was reinventing itself one car at a time. When Mercury rolled out the 49 8, it wasn't just a new car, it was a bold post-war statement on wheels. For 1949, Mercury introduced its third-generation design as its first true post-war line, marking the dawn of a sleeker, more modern era. This was also the first lineup to debut under the combined Lincoln-Mercury division, and the 8 now shared its body with Lincoln, though Lincoln had shed its divisional nameplate. Think of it as a middle sibling, not quite as grand as Lincoln, not as modest as Ford, but holding its own with sharp styling and confidence. The real head turner was the new pontoon body style. Gone were the freestanding fenders and running boards that made earlier models look like rolling antiques. Instead, the hood was widened, dropped lower, and blended smoothly into the body, giving the Mercury a low-slung modern appearance. It was like swapping a boxy old suit for a custom-tailored tuxedo. And then there was the wagon story. The 4-door station wagon got the boot, replaced with a 2-door version. Like Ford's Country Squire, wood construction was dialed back to decorative side paneling, still crafted at the Ford Iron Mountain plant, making this wagon stylish without feeling like a rolling lumberyard. Under the hood of the 8 sat a legend in its own right, the 255 cubic inch Flathead V8. It wasn't just an engine, it was a heartbeat of post-war cruising culture. Pumping out 110 horsepower and a healthy 200 foot-pounds of torque, it wasn't trying to win drag strips. It was built for smooth, confident power. Think of it less like a sprinter and more like a heavyweight boxer. Steady, reliable, and always ready to throw a solid punch when needed. The board measured 3.18 inches with a 4.0 inch stroke, which gave the engine its long stroke personality. Better torque at lower RPMs, making it perfect for relaxed highway cruising or impressing the crowd at the local diner. With a compression ratio of 6.8 to 1, it could handle the low-octane gas of the era without breaking a sweat. 3 main bearings held everything together, and the cast-iron cylinder block was as tough as a steel lunchbox. Heavy, sure, but built to last. Fuel delivery came courtesy of a 2-barrel Holley 94 carburetor, feeding the beast with just the right mix. The result? A 30 rumble and effortless acceleration. In short, the Flathead V8 was smooth jazz on the streets, with a little rock and roll underneath. Backing up the trusty Flathead V8 in the 49 8 was a no-nonsense 3-speed manual transmission, the kind of gearbox that made every driver feel like they were part of the machine. No automatics, no overdrives, just you, a clutch pedal, and a lever that clicked through gears like a typewriter with attitude. Shifting wasn't just a necessity. It was an experience. You had to feel the rhythm, know the engine's sweet spot, and time your moves like a dance partner at a post-war sock hop. This 3-speed manual wasn't designed for lightning-fast gear changes or racing glory, but it was bulletproof and dependable. First gear gave you that grunt to get that cast-iron beast rolling, second carried you through town with ease, and third stretched its legs on the open road. It was simple, effective, and about as complicated as a cup of black coffee. just how drivers of the day liked it. With the torque of the Flathead working hand in hand, the drivetrain delivered smooth, steady cruising power. It wasn't flashy, but it was honest, like a handshake deal from a small-town mechanic. The Mercury 8 made sure every gear change felt like a conversation between man and machine. The 1949 8 didn't just show off a new body, it rode on an equally modern foundation. Built on a sturdy pontoon chassis, it marked a huge leap forward in comfort and handling. Gone was the old-school transverse leaf suspension, a setup Ford had clung to since the days of the Model T. That's right, Mercury finally retired a design older than sliced bread, and drivers everywhere rejoiced. Up front, the 8 featured an independent coil spring suspension with telescopic shock absorbers tucked inside the springs. This gave the car a smoother, more controlled ride, like swapping a wooden rocking chair for a leather recliner. A stabilizer bar helped keep body roll in check, making cornering feel less like steering a tugboat and more like gliding a cruiser. In the rear, Mercury used longitudinal semi-elliptical leaf springs paired with telescopic shocks as well, a tried-and-true combination that balanced durability with comfort. To finish the package, a semi-floating rear axle with a hypoid-type ring gear and pinion ensured power transfer stayed strong and efficient. The result? A Mercury that didn't just look modern, it drove modern. Compared to its pre-war ancestors, this was a whole new animal. Smoother, steadier, and far more civilized on the open road. Step inside the 8 and you're greeted by an interior that blended post-war optimism with just the right amount of style. The cabin was dressed in rich tobacco leather, complemented by wood paneling that gave the car a warm, inviting feel. It was less like stepping into a car and more like sliding into a cozy smoking lounge on wheels. Comfort was king here. Wide seats to let passengers sink in and stretched out, perfect for long Sunday cruises or just showing off at the drive-in. But Mercury wasn't all about looks. They sprinkled in some tech flair too. For those who wanted the latest gadgetry, an 8-tube AM radio was available as an option. Imagine cruising down Main Street, Flathead humming while the radio pipes in big band tunes or the latest hits from Frank Sinatra. That radio wasn't just entertainment, it was your link to the outside world. The dashboard itself got a major upgrade with full instrumentation added to keep drivers informed. Gauges were clean, straightforward, and easy to read, so you could focus more on the open road and less on guesswork. In short, the Mercury 8's interior was stylish, practical, and ahead of its time. The 1949 Mercury 8's rear end wasn't just along for the ride. It packed a Dana 41 rear differential, a workhorse built to handle the torque of the Flathead V8 without breaking a sweat. Think of it as the unsung hero, quietly turning power into motion while you bask in comfort. Durable, reliable, and smooth, it kept the Mercury tracking straight and true even on twisty roads. Paired with the semi-floating rear axle and hypoid gears, it delivered a driving experience that felt steady and controlled, like a trusty co-pilot who never complains but always gets you where you need to go. The 1949 8 wasn't exactly a pocket rocket. It was a rolling statement of post-war American style. Stretching 206.8 inches from bumper to bumper, it had the kind of presence that made other cars politely move over. At 76.5 inches wide, it was broad enough to feel commanding on the road, but not so wide you needed a pilot's license to squeeze through a city street. Standing 64.8 inches tall, it had a low-slung stance that gave it a sleek, almost rakish profile, like a heavyweight boxer crouching ready to spring into action. The 118-inch wheelbase contributed to its smooth, stable ride. It wasn't just about aesthetics. The long wheelbase helped the Mercury glide over bumps, keeping passengers comfortable while making the car feel planted and confident. And let's not forget the curb weight. Ranging from 3,500 to 4,000 pounds, this car was a substantial piece of machinery. Heavy? Sure. But that half translated into a solid, reassuring feel on the road, like driving a leather-bound safe with wheels. The Mercury 8's dimensions weren't just numbers, they were part of its personality, giving it a presence that couldn't be ignored, even in a sea of post-war sedans. The Mercury 8 had plenty going for it, and like any classic, a few quirks too. Let's start with the strengths. First off, its design was revolutionary. The smooth pontoon styling ditched the old freestanding fenders and gave the car a sleek, modern look that still turns heads today. Add in the Flathead V8 with its reliable torque, and you had a power plant that was smooth, sturdy, and easy to work on. The improved chassis and suspension meant better handling and ride comfort than ever before. No more bouncing around like a carnival ride. Inside, the Mercury was stylish, with leather and wood accents plus optional tech like the 8-tube AM radio. All this made the 8 a favorite for both families and hot rodders. Now for the weaknesses. That Flathead V8, while dependable, wasn't exactly a speed demon. With just 110 horsepower, it had more of a steady jog than a sprint. The car's weight, tipping the scales at about 4,000 pounds, didn't help either, making acceleration leisurely. And while the manual 3-speed was durable, it wasn't the smoothest or most exciting gearbox around. Still, these flaws are part of the charm. The Mercury 8 wasn't perfect, but it was perfectly iconic. The 1949 Mercury 8 wasn't just a car, it was a cultural milestone, a rolling piece of post-war optimism wrapped in steel, leather, and chrome. With its sleek pontoon styling, trusty Flathead V8, and modernized chassis, it showed the world that Mercury was ready to stand tall between Ford practicality and Lincoln luxury. Sure, it wasn't the fastest kid on the block, but it had the kind of swagger that made up for it, like a jazz band that didn't need to play loud to get the crowd hooked. It was a car that turned ordinary drives into stylish statements. But here's the fun part. What do you think? Was the 49 Mercury 8 a true game changer in automotive design, or just a stylish heavyweight with more bark than bite? I'd love to hear your thoughts, stories, and even family memories down in the comments. If you enjoyed this ride through time, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to RetroWheelsVault, and ring the bell so you don't miss any more trips down memory lane. Until next time, remember, keep it loud, keep it classic.